Hi there, my name is Andy Farquharson and I'm your host on Alternative Exit,
the podcast dedicated to educating small business owners about the possibilities, benefits and challenges of transitioning to an employee ownership model. Did you know that there are over 200 million SMEs around the globe with an owner that will be retiring within the next 10 years? Many of these owners will never actually find a buyer for their business, forcing them to close their doors, wreaking havoc on their employees and the communities. There is an alternative. This show will explore different forms of employee ownership and the best practices for a successful transition. Each episode is going to feature interviews with experts on employee ownership, business owners who've successfully made the transition, and consultants who've helped facilitate these changes.
Okay, now let's get on with the show.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Alternative Exit. Today we've got a great guest who's bringing a slightly different perspective than some of our other recent guests. David Owen is the former Chief Executive Officer of Oliver & Co Solicitors, which is a UK-based law firm that transitioned to a 100% employee-owned model a little bit earlier, which was underneath his leadership. So the firm actually became the first and largest employee-owned law firm in England, with 85 employees holding ownership through an EOT. So David has gone through all the gamuts of sort of figuring out what to do with an exit, finding the employee-owned option, and then having taken his team through that successful journey. So, David, we're so super excited to have you, and welcome to the Alternative Exit.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for having me. If I can just correct you on one of your facts in there.
Yes, please.
We were the first employee-owned law firm in Chester, and we became 100% employee-owned on the 18th of October 2022. At the time, we were the largest employee-owned law firm in the northwest of England, but we weren't the first. We were probably somewhere 13th or 14th. We don't know. We don't have the figures. Nobody has the figures, but we were one of the first, but not the first.
Well, let's do it. One of the facts was right. The largest.
We were the largest at the time in the northwest of England. Yes.
Yeah.
They were the first. There are firms that are larger than us that are employee owned. There's not many out there, but there are one or two firms.
Well, with not many out there, I mean, when you were thinking about your succession plan, what made you think about transitioning to employee ownership?
Well, it's succession, really. I've just turned 60. So a number of years ago, myself and my colleague Kay were considering what are we going to do, in the future, really. So we went down this route after having taken some advice from our financial advisor. She talked a little bit about an employee benefit trust. And we looked at that, and I don't think I still probably understand it very well, but it led us to an employee ownership trust type model. Kay, my colleague, then contacted a solicitor in Oxford that was partly employee owned, and I myself read up a little bit about it, and we ended up speaking to a solicitor, Christian Wilson, who specialises in helping firms and companies transfer to employee ownership. And it just seemed an absolutely ideal solution for us to deal with the issue of succession.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, Christian Wilson is obviously a friend of the pod who's we'll link to his episode, which was released quite a few weeks ago. But that's fantastic, all right, that you sort of went on this journey of discovery to go figure out sort of that employee ownership was right for you. I mean, what were the key attributes that made you say, hey, look, this is going to be the right path for us?
Well, I mean, in terms of employee ownership, it has big tax advantages both ways. So for myself and Kay, there were big tax advantages in terms of selling the business. I mean, you have various options when you come to sell your business. You can sell it to a third party. You can do a management buyout, both of which do attract capital gains tax relief payment. So you have that benefit in terms of which is a big benefit.
It's a huge benefit in the UK. And yeah, I think the UK has done so well with that. It's just so attractive for owners.
But also it's a benefit for the employees in terms of the first £3,600 is paid income tax free, not totally tax free, because they still pay national insurance on it. So there was a big benefit that way. And also it seemed a fantastic solution for us to effectively sell the firm to the employees who would help make the firm what it was. So when you sell to a third party, quite often it may not work out. Some people leave, some people don't like it. There's a clash of cultures. You don't have that issue. We could retain the culture and actually build and improve upon the existing culture because we had the same employees. With the management buyout, it's tricky. People would have to raise quite a lot of money in order to do that, and possibly get second charges, etc., on their properties. So
yeah, and not a lot of people really want to do that, do they? Like go out and get a big loan on another loan.
These days it's changed. So it seemed nobody was being asked to put money in because effectively the consideration or the sale price is paid for by the business through the profits of the business over a period of time. So it just seemed a win-win solution. We couldn't really see any downsides at all to it. And so the more we found out about it, the more we got really excited about it.
Nice. And at what stage in the process did you start bringing employees into the conversation and tell them?
Probably too late.
Okay.
If I can be truthful, we probably should have got them involved a bit earlier. But it was such a completely new process, and we weren't sure, I suppose, when to tell people, because it was all evolving and developing as we were taking advice from Christian and going across various stages. We were having to consider trustees and a management board. And also then we had to get approval from our regulator, the SRA, in respect to the change of ownership. So there were a lot of steps to take. And then really, I suppose, it was only a week or two before we really wanted to complete on it that we started letting the senior people know. So in hindsight, we would have probably done that earlier and got them involved a bit earlier so that we could hear their any concerns that they had about it. And they were obviously going to have concerns because it was a big change. And so, or certainly questions about how it was all going to look, how it would affect them individually. Many of the senior individuals at our firm had been with our firm for well over a decade. And so, it was a big thing that was happening, which we needed to discuss with them.
Okay, so there's one thing I picked up that you mentioned there, like you said you needed to create a management board. I mean, that's something that we see, management board, and then create the trust deeds. I mean, did you, by the time that you'd told this to your to employees, had you already put in place some of these elements, like the management board, or is that something you did after you let them know about the transition?
Probably about the same time, really, as we were talking about it. I mean, we knew, I think that would have been the advice coming through from Christian. You need a trustee. And one of the things we needed was an independent trustee. And Christian was able to direct us to a person who ended up being our independent trustee. So, so when we started to have that conversation, I suppose we knew what we needed, and maybe we had an idea of the people that maybe would be suitable for, I suppose, maybe the transition over. And we looked at a couple of senior people that had been with us for years and years, and that we felt they would be appropriate individuals really to be trustees and to come onto the management board.
Okay. Another part that I often hear some owners sort of wishing that they might have got more employee voice when it comes to actually creating the trust deeds. Is that something that you and Kay just shaped on your own, or did you get any input from?
I think, to be honest, it's very, very legal, very commercial, big document, a lot of documents involved, and both Kay and I are lawyers. but we were we're not commercial lawyers, and we did get a little bit of input from the commercial lawyer towards the end. But we were relying heavily on Christian Wilson, I think, in terms of the documents and what needed to go into the documents. And I don't think we would have benefited at all, really, from, other than possibly the commercial lawyer who did get involved towards the end, from anyone else's involvement, because it was, a little bit outside of our expertise, to be honest.
Fair enough. And how long was the process for you from when you decided, hey, look, let's go, the financial advisor said, hey, employee ownership's an option, to when you finally executed?
Well, the process, I think, took probably about 18 months, really, from when we decided, when we first spoke to Christian. And, he was very good. He set a timetable up, whereby, we were having meetings almost on a month, and, so by month 3, we need to have achieved this and this. By month 6, we need to have done this. And maybe by month 12, we should be going to the regulators saying this is what it's going to look like. And so, it was a long process, and probably it was getting the permission from the regulator, which was probably took a little bit longer than we first anticipated. But probably all in all about 18 months. Which although it seems quite a long time, it does go quite quickly, and you're still running the business, and you have an awful lot of stuff to think about in terms of who's going to be on the management board, who are going to be the trustees, how's it going to look going forward. And then, subsequently we then you then use employee reps, and you might look at any other firms that have done it, really. So yes, it did go quite quickly.
So one thing I'm really curious about, what was it when you're about to tell your employees, okay, you're about to say you're now going to be the owners of this company. How were you feeling prior to that announcement?
Nervous. Nervous because you're certainly telling them. So, but when we announced it to the whole firm, obviously the senior individuals would have known about it, and then maybe one or two others may have found out. But no, it's a nervous and excited. It's a sense of anticipation, isn't it? This is a new era. This is going to be a new era. We are going to do things differently. Being an employee-owned firm is unique. And totally, as I say, we were the only firm in Chester doing this. So a lot of people, and to be able to tell people you are going to have a stake, you are going to have a share in the business, you will have a share of the profits. It's fantastic news, isn't it, to convey to people. So nervous, but really excited and looking forward to their response, their reaction, and all their questions.
Okay. And what was their reaction?
Excitement, okay. Overall, absolutely.
That's super cool.
I would say it was very excited. I think
all right.
They've gone, haven't they, from being employees to suddenly being employee owners, each with a stake in the business. So that had to be perceived and taken by them as a really exciting development for the firm.
Yeah, a few other owners that I've spoken to, they said that sometimes it's been met with a lot of fear and uncertainty, of doubt. People just going, but that's okay, so I'm owner, but what does that mean? Do I have to fire my colleague? Do I have to sort of make a decision as to whether they sort of go, whether we're going to have holidays or not? Or, hey, look, now I can finally go and I can take my afternoons off, like what I always wanted. But I think it's that fear and uncertainty, I think, which I hear. Did you guys experience that at all?
No, not really, because we very much proceeded on the basis of, look, it's still really business as usual, but these things have changed. No, and we worked a lot on communication with them. I mean, myself and Kay went and we spoke. We had three floors of our building, and we went and spoke and answered all the questions that anyone may have. I would say I don't think anyone had any fear, because we felt we were taking away, creating more certainty, if anything, because you're taking away the issue of succession, aren't you? Rather than people thinking, oh, what's going to happen when they retire? Well, we've done it. We've given the firm to you. So, if anything, hopefully less uncertainty and less fear. That really wasn't an issue for us.
That's very, very cool. I think, well, that obviously goes to a lot to the, I guess, A, the fact business was going well. B, there was that you had a lot of trust within the organisation already. And probably your communication sounded like it was really on point. Did you guys have anyone helping you with that communication plan?
Well, what we did after a while was, I can't remember the exact timing of this, but the independent trustee was the former managing partner of the first large law firm to become employee owned. So he came up and he did some training, management training and leadership training, and that was all the key individuals got involved with that. So and then he actually did. We found that so useful that was rolled out to the whole of the firm. So by way of not in person, but on Teams and sort of bite size, over a period of months, he would run through it. So the communication, so he helped us, I'd say, a lot with, how are you going to get this across to the individuals. And then, of course, we appointed, or we didn't appoint, actually, the employees appointed employee representatives. So we have employee representatives representing all the departments of the firm. So they would meet with the trustees once every 3 months. So any issues could come, or questions could come through them. So if there were any problems. I also did a weekly update, which we started during COVID, where I would say what's going on in the firm. So I could always, every week, I could say, well, this is happening or that's happening. So I would say our communication, whilst it's never perfect, is it, and you can always improve, was certainly quite good, and we were very aware we had to communicate and be as transparent as possible about everything.
Okay. What were the most common questions coming from the employees in those first few sort of meetings that you and Kay were holding on the different levels?
Well, you see, you could have, from the really pedantic questions like, well, if I'm now an equal employee with everyone else, and we had 11 spaces in the car park at the time, still do have, or maybe slightly more, 12, 13, I should be able to park in the car park. So then suddenly, so you were guessing some really, and it was just saying, well, no, we've still got to have a little bit of, sort of order in terms of, that's what the management board was there for, to sort of weed out, I suppose, some of the pedantic sorts of things. In terms of, figures, I mean, we explained that we would be more transparent on the figures, and so a quarter. So they were asking about figures and who decided a profit share or who decides all that. Then we'd say, well, we'll be more transparent on the figures, and we retained an external accountant to help to provide some finance training. So, and then a financial report would go out each quarter to all the employees. So we were, I think, answering the questions as they were going along. But can't think of a specific question that kept coming. The car park is one that comes to mind, but that's not a particularly helpful example, is it really? But
oh no, that's an incredibly helpful example. I think that goes just points to, I think, a lot of that's a fear that I hear from a lot of owners. Well, like all these people now that everyone's an owner, now that they think they can just sort of they feel entitled to the same kinds of, I guess, benefits that they've seen you as an owner come in and have that car park.
To give you another point on that, my car was a hybrid vehicle which we'd plug in. There was an outside socket, and I would plug it in. And then, one or two queries were raised. Well, you shouldn't be allowed to do that now because it's increasing the electricity, and we're not happy with that, and we want to stop it. So it was like that was, another surprising sort of point. But yes, you're picking up on the right things there. It's sort of managing that as well to say, well, no, you don't sort of, you're not all going to be making management decisions about the firm. It is very much business as usual. Things are changing. You will get an equal share of profits, but you can't, you can't all park in the car park because we become an employee-owned law firm and you have an equal share of the profit. So, yeah.
So how was that? Talk me through that process of helping them understand like the governance. So what was the difference between like a management decision, the trust decision, and sort of the employee representatives that were speaking to the trust? Like, how did you help them understand sort of what elements that they could really contribute to?
Well, I suppose a lot of that's dealt with by the employee reps. So they elected, the department elected employee reps to represent the department. So in terms of the structure, we created a PowerPoint presentation, which we did send out to the firm, which would have said who the trustees are, who the management board are. I think it was on the back of that myself and Kay went to each floor in the firm and discussed the slides, or if anyone had any questions on that, so they would know that. And I think from recollection, I think I possibly did that when I initially said we became an employee-owned law firm, that we have trustees and who the trustees were, and that we have a management board. But it was a lot to take in then, so I think we backed that up with a PowerPoint slides. And going to speak to different floors, so that they knew that there were trustees, they knew there were management board, they knew who they were, they knew they then had shortly thereafter they had employee reps, so they could put things through the employee reps, and then the employee reps would bring those to the trustees. So very quickly, that I think everyone got to grips with the new structure.
What were some of the things that you implemented to help sort of create this culture of ownership throughout the business?
Well, we felt it's very important to have profit share payment quickly, because that would show immediately that they were benefiting. So we did, I think within a few months, we did. If we went October, I'm pretty sure we had one in December. Profit share payment, so they could see it immediately in their pocket. So that was one of the things we were very keen to show, was that financially, this is how it will work. And then in year one, for our first full year of employee ownership, they had £1,500, and then in our second full year, they had £2,500. But early on, we were very keen to show financially, this is how it will work, and that obviously is going to create a lot of good feeling, and everyone's very pleased when they got the email, and then we would announce it in time to come. We started announcing it, so it became a bit of a thing, and where people were very happy to get these payments that they knew they were getting and not having to pay income tax on.
I felt you would have felt like Santa Claus going into those meetings.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was, and then we'd get different people sort of making the announcement. One of the trustees would send out an email or whatever, so it wouldn't just be myself or Kay. So we would, those were one of the first things, and they knew it had changed, because, as I said, they had the employee reps, they had the early profit share payment, and then it's progressed, and we'd become much more transparent. We'd had brought in an accountant, and we had the independent trustee, and everything. There was a lot happening.
When you talk about that transparency, you obviously brought in that accountant to ensure that the books are much more easily easily read by the people in the business as well. But to what level are you going? Like, are people able to see like each other's billable hours, like, or is it, or each group's profitability? I mean, how do you think about that transparency?
Well, I mean, we felt, people could ask the questions, but we prepared a detailed quarterly financial report, was prepared by our head of accounts, basically, and she would get some input from that. Would have a lot of information within the individual departments. They were all seeing what they were doing, so they could see what was happening in the department. But the whole financial report would provide a really good overview of what was happening in each department and in the firm.
So, and then you also mentioned that you were doing some training, like some leadership training with with your independent trustee. What did that training look like? What were the core topics?
It was all sorts, really. It was all sorts, from finance. So he had a section on finance, branding. I mean, we set our core values at that training. So we set 6 values: honesty, loyalty, supportive, respect, fair, commercial. That was, we set that. We set our company vision, which is to be a sustainable and successful employee-owned business, to have a positive impact on our employees, clients, and community, and create a progressive and adaptable culture with happy employees. So this was all going out. And then a turnover of £7 million by April 2025, which is what we reached. So this was the sort of work that was going in at the leadership training. So we were really thinking, and that's come to fruition, really, in terms of the new creative and progressive and adaptable culture, happy employees, culture, and then the figure at the end, 7 million by April 2025, which we got to. We never thought we would when we aspired to get to that figure, but we did get there. So, it was all sorts. So that was part of it. And then, as I say, we had a session on finance, we had a session on branding, business, being commercial. It was fabulous. And that was initially in person to all the associate directors. And thereafter, that went out, as I say, in teams to the whole firm.
Okay, that's fantastic. So, like, everyone, the whole firm had an input on the values and the mission and the vision for the company.
Well, that was actually set by the associate directors at the first in-person training that we had. Obviously, we couldn't have 70 people or whatever on that, which is why it ended up being done. But we felt it was so good, we wanted the whole firm to have the benefit of the training that everyone else had. And various things about being commercial and the branding and marketing, sessions on marketing and finance. It was just all very broad. It was broad and, good, but very good business information that everyone was getting.
That's fantastic. So people were trained, educated. Then you gave them visibility into the books. So you could see how the business is going. How did you help them use that education and that knowledge to actually go and drive better performance in the business?
Well, I suppose it's something that some of the things that we did, we introduced stuff like department shadowing, where that was an employee idea, where, for instance, we historically had a little bit of friction sometimes between our conveyancing department and our accounts department, because conveyancing would be giving them a whole load of completion packs very last minute, and accounts are saying, you're not organised, you should be giving this to us much, much earlier. And they say, well, we can't because we haven't got this, this and this. And so for conveyancing to go and work in accounts, and the department shadowing meant that people could work in different departments for up to half a day. So so it was really helpful for some of the conveyancing people to go and work in the accounts department and see, well, that's why they're not happy with getting these completion packs so late. And then likewise, accounts go and see the issues that conveyancing were having as well.
Fantastic. Okay,
So
so I like that. So,
that was actually an idea that came from one of the employees.
Yeah.
That's the sort of, as I say, how it's, never had that sort of thing happening pre-employee ownership. So we've had a whole host of things. We've had long service awards which have come through the employee rep, some holiday buyback scheme, an enhanced maternity package. All of these things have come through the employee rep. So they have seen, their voice has really had an impact on the business and has helped shape certain things that we've been trying to do.
that's fantastic. I mean, what was the format that you created to get this employee feedback?
Well, it's through, as I say, the employee reps would have a meeting. They would have a meeting, I think, prior to meeting with the trustees, and they would have a list of issues or matters that they wanted to raise. Then after the first few meetings, that was whittled down into, because stuff like car parking stuff did not end up. It ended up, I think, at the first meeting in front of the trustees. And I think we didn't really want those sort of issues, but certainly things like enhanced maternity package were very valid points, long service awards, and holiday buyback scheme. They started coming up with these ideas, which they were then passing through to the employee reps, which were then being brought to the trustee meetings. So it all really came through the employee reps, seeking the views and the input from their department before they would have a meeting then with the trustees.
Okay, very, very nice. You've been employee owned since what? Since 22.
18th of October 2022.
Okay. What have been the biggest challenges for you during the transition?
I would say it's gone amazingly well. We've had fantastic changes to the culture. In terms of the challenge, well, we have the senior people who the associate directors, and this was probably more just prior to becoming employee owned, in terms of their opportunity, say, to buy the practice, I suppose, has been taken away from them. So it's more been the communication with them as to, well, this is what's happened, and ensuring that they are compensated for the effort that they've made in a correct manner. So I suppose it's been, the biggest challenge has been for me, I suppose, the communication with some of the senior individuals and sorting out how the path is going to look for them going forwards.
Yeah, I could see that being a big challenge. As I said, though, when it's just so ingrained within that sort of the legal industry and also other professional services, where that's your opportunity to be able to sort of take over that successful practice, is that MBO. So yeah, I could see how that's an opportunity taken away from them.
It's taken away from them, but then they're getting more money without having to put anything in. So if they were going to do a management buyout, the financial strain would have been absolutely huge. They didn't have any of that strain. So and happily, all of them, have stayed with us. But it was still, they had put a lot into it. They were obviously had extra responsibilities and duties to maybe some of the junior people. They'd been there for a number of years. So quite rightly, they want to know, what is it, and lots of us have that, what's in it for me? How's it going to look for me going forward? So it was, I suppose, discussing and debating with them, well, this is how it is going to look. And it's because it's a new structure, you've got to evolve, isn't it? Everyone's got to change and make sure that they are happy and everyone else is happy, which, we are trying our best to do.
Yeah, sounds like you're doing a great job. So, I mean, outside of the car parks, the charging points and the management conversations around missing that MBO opportunity. Were there any other challenges that sort of stood out, or sort of any other sticking points?
I think there's been, huge positive steps. I mean, we put in a gym. We have a gym in our office. We've put in showers. We've had the first company away day ever. There's far more, as I say, positive stuff than I wouldn't say anything's really negative, because even with the discussions with the senior people, I mean, that's just got to happen, isn't it, to develop and progress. But we've done so many, there's been so many improvements. I think everyone has felt it's gone really well, and it's been borne out by the figures. As I say, we've grown in both our full first 2 years of employee ownership, and we hit that £7 million figure, which was really an aspirational figure. We never really, just plucked it out at the end, never really thought we'd get there. So everyone's aligned and working to help each other, and teamwork. And it's not that 9 till 5 sort of atmosphere job. It's more teamwork, collaboration, innovative. We started off blue sky thinking group sessions, which meet once a month, where every single employee can attend the blue sky thinking group meeting and bring their own ideas to it. So that's outside of the employee reps. And sometimes we'll look at a text from a business book, and we may bring that in, and we'll discuss that to kick off some ideas. And then we've had some great ideas. The first company away day originated from a blue sky thinking group meeting. So they have far more of a say and a voice than they ever had. Everyone has, than prior to being employee owned.
Well, is there anything that you wish you did differently?
No, other than possibly the communication a little bit earlier with the senior individuals progressed. I mean, that was an inevitable conversation that we were going to have, and maybe a little bit of planning for how they were going to react to it. Maybe we didn't give enough consideration possibly to that. So yes, and earlier conversations with them would have probably been helpful. But no, I mean, because it's new, you learn, don't you? It evolves and you learn, and it's exciting, and it's, a fantastic change for the future. Very
nice. Well, David, this has been fantastic. But before, and look, it's been such a great story in hearing it from sort of the owner's perspective. But before we go, I'd like to ask you a fast round of questions where I'll just ask you 3 questions and you offer a quick response. How does that sound?
Good.
Don't worry, they're not too bad. So the first one is, who is the leader that you most admire in the employee ownership space?
Carl from Myers and Solicitors in Manchester, because he put so much thought into becoming an employee-owned business. He'd been thinking about it for years and years and years.
Okay, fantastic. All right, I'll check out Carl.
Carl from Myers and Solicitors.
What is your favourite resource on employee ownership?
I love the fact that there's an employee-owned law conference every year. So I love the fact that lawyers that are employee-owned meet and share ideas, and it's not competitive. It really is very, what can we learn from this? And some great people in that group of people. So the favourite resource is a coming together of employee-owned law firms at once a year at the employee-owned law conference. Very cool.
And then finally, what would you say to another business owner who's sitting on the fence regarding a transition to employee ownership?
Sitting on, I wish if we'd known about it earlier, we'd have done it earlier. So there are no drawbacks to it. It's helped myself individually in terms of retiring, and it's absolutely helped the whole firm in terms of the firm and all the individuals within that firm are better off, and the firm's become more profitable and a happier place with a better culture. So what more could you want? A better culture, and more profitable law firm that we've become. So anyone sitting on the fence, I'd be saying, speak to people that are employee and then take the step.
Yeah, there's some amazing benefits there, David, and you shared some more throughout the call. Look, it's been fantastic chatting to you and learning more about your journey and transition to employee ownership. If people want to reach out to you, they may have any questions or follow your story as to sort of what's happening next for David Owen, where can they go?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm on LinkedIn. That's how we connected, wasn't it?
Yeah, we connected there. So I'll put that link in the show notes for you as well.
Yeah, happy to. I do need to update my LinkedIn profile, which I will get around to. But it's happy to answer anyone's questions. But LinkedIn, I'm always fairly active on LinkedIn. I look at that out on a daily basis.
Fantastic. Well, David Owen, thank you very much for joining us on the Alternative Exit.
Thank you, Andy, for having me. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to continue learning about employee ownership as an alternative exit, head across to abettermonday.me for additional links and resources. You can also make sure to subscribe or follow along in your favourite podcast app, and be sure to leave us a 5-star review.